No, someone was knocking on our door outside.
Mhm.
We are live.
Okay, we are now live. And then you should be able to see the comments. They should from all different platforms. They'll come in. Do you have the comment section on yours?
Where it says private chat comments.
So the private chat, and then if you do the comments at the top, that's for all the channels. And then I'll do like a quick break so I can splice it for YouTube and just have a nice clean entry and exit on the video. So I'll give everybody, typically give a minute or so, and then we'll just jump into it. It's always I don't want to just wait for people to get on, but then so want people on, so then it's not going back in the comments. People are like, hey, hold on, what did I miss? Balancing that. Yeah. All right, I'll go ahead and do the intro, and then we can get started.
Alrighty.
Welcome, everyone. I am Blake from Bourboner and Seelbach. Today, we are tasting the next New Riff barrel pick. This is one that we're going to do live at the distillery, but because of everything going on, we're not able to travel to the distillery, but this will be a great one. Today, I have with me today is Dee Jones. And so if you have ordered anything from Seelbach, really in the history of Seelbach, you may have had an email from her. She's been with me from the start. She's a bartender. She does a lot of content for different brands and everything on Instagram and Twitter. And so, yeah, not only is she the operations manager for Seelbach, she also has her own, I guess, what would you say, just content and everything, cocktails at distilled.com or no, distilled.co. And as well as you are the content manager for Chocolate City's Best. So we'll kind of jump into that a little more. But Dee, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to pick this barrel. I love a good barrel.
I know. It's kind of fun. Usually I'm like, need to pepper you with questions about everything you do. It's like, well, we talk every day. So it makes it interesting. But no, I mean, tell everyone a little bit about the Distilled and then also Chocolate City's Best.
Okay. So Distilled started primarily as a cocktail catering company, still is. Obviously, we're not doing a lot of that right now during quarantine. But we also focus on spirits education and tastings, and also have a blog where I feature tastings of different spirits I'm trying. A lot of them are spirits that do come from Seelbach and elsewhere, and where I share cocktail recipes, different techniques, things like that. And then Chocolate City's Best is actually a nonprofit based here in DC that myself, Capri Robinson, and Michael Holliday are all a part of. And essentially our mission is to empower people of color in the food and beverage industry, whether that's through education, financial literacy, learning about gardening, curating your own food, growing your own food, providing opportunities professionally. Our annual cocktail competition, which will be our third annual this year in October, where we highlight bartenders of color throughout the entire nation. Essentially, our mission is to just continue to provide opportunities for people of color in the food and beverage industry and to continue to highlight and elevate as much as we can.
That's awesome. Yep. And so I think, we'll have to come up with a really cool sticker because I'm not huge on stickers. And I know from a fulfillment side, y'all may hate stickers too, but
I'm a little crazy on the side, but this one will be worth it.
This one will be worth it for sure. For sure. Well, all right. If you're tuning in, you're probably familiar with New Riff some. But they're a distillery out of Covington, Kentucky, Northern Kentucky. They're right across the border from Cincinnati, and they're just one that has come on strong. If we get a barrel of this in, whether it's for a group or for our own, they're gone extremely fast. I think our last one sold out in what was it? Maybe 30 minutes or so. It was
less than 24 hours. I know that much.
Yeah. It was really quick. And so, I think people are starting to realize, if we deal with craft brands at Seelbach. So I always get the suggestion of like, well, I drink Blanton's and Buffalo Trace. What should I go with? It's like, well, are you just looking for a good bourbon, or are you looking to replicate those brands? But New Riff's always on the list of bottles I suggest to people if they're coming from a just pure bourbon background and they just, they despise craft. It's like, well, try some of these, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Despise craft? Is that a
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of people burned by the bottle they paid $100 for that was like 3 months old from a 5-gallon barrel. So, while we kind of embrace the quirky and the funky, a lot of people, they like the tried and true. But New Riff even has, they've done their backsetter line where they've experimented a little bit with those bottles, but I hope people don't despise craft, or at least we can change their mind.
At the very least, I hope they give us a try first before they decide.
Exactly. So let's go through. We kind of line these up so we're matching. So the first bottle we have is, and actually, did yours have the proof on them?
They actually do not say the proof.
Okay. All right. So this is just barrel 10269. It was distilled 530 samples, or 530 2016, and then samples were, I think, maybe around July 20th or somewhere. They're pulled sometime in July, so we're looking at just over 4 years old. And which it's interesting. So when you go to New Riff, the distillery, to do a barrel tasting, they give you just a sheet of different barrels that they have as options with all their tasting notes, and you go through the sheet and you get to pick out what you want to try. Then they pull those samples and you try each one. You can go back for more if you need to, and then you start voting. So this is a little different. It's still fun to try these, but
I've got to actually go into the distillery and do this.
As soon as when are we allowed to go to Kentucky again? A year from what's our timeline? But no, it's a lot of fun, and New Riff does a great job with their barrel picks.
I'm getting a lot of orange.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fruit, like citrus, like dried orange peel, and I mean, I even get a little bit of that on the finish. Get some oak, some of the, you can always, I always try to find what's a little unique about it. I mean, with every bourbon, I'm probably going to taste some caramel, some vanilla, some, but so I try to pick out some of the different notes, and yeah, that orange peel is just sticking out.
Super strong.
Mm-hmm. Really nice though. Really soft on the palate.
Maybe honey as far as the sweetness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. Time.
Still for too long, they just shut off.
Yeah. Just, hey, that's how cheap we are at Seelbach. We have everything on. Wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, just really nice throughout. There's some good pepper on the end. You get more of like that honey and almost just like a creaminess. I mean, if we want to just stop the video there, I don't know. We'll do that, but that's that. And I've had a bunch of different profiles from New Riff. We've had some that are just extremely earthy and green and funky. The last one we did, we called it the barbecue barrel because it was like molasses and just like tomato pasty almost. And with this one, I'm not getting anything crazy or funky, but it's just like straight on
minerality.
No. Okay. All right. While you're thinking on that one, hold on. Sorry, what'd you say?
No, I said that minerality definitely makes your mouth water.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to add a little bit of water to that as I go on to my next one. So the next barrel was distilled on 6/3/2016. Same thing, a little bit over 4 years.
This one's different.
Yeah, this one isn't. It's a There's a little brown sugar there. There's some sweetness.
It's a bit smokier.
Yeah, smoky, drier on the palate. Some a little more of that, that minty earthiness and. And this is kind of what I love about the private barrel selections is, you see these things are distilled pretty close. It's the exact same mash bill, but there can be some real flavor swings, and it's kind of fun to see them.
Is it because of the wood? Are they using different oak for these, or
no? They'll be pretty much all will come from the same barrel manufacturer. It's just who knows, that barrel may have been from the top part of the tree that was 30 years old, and then this one, the barrel may have been from the bottom half of a tree, from a tree that was 10 years old or something. So there's all these different factors that go into it, but it's pretty much all coming from the wood. Buffalo Trace did their, what was it called, the Single Oak Project a few years back, where they basically they tested all the different types of wood, or not types of wood, it's all New American oak, but where it came from in the tree, how long the oak had been seasoned. So a lot of times with some of these newer barrels and stuff, they just use heat to dry the wood out. But then other distilleries, and mainly craft distilleries, they'll use barrels that have been dried over like a 36-month period outside. So what happens is they actually sit out in the rain while they're drying, but that leaches out a lot of just the impurities and stuff from the wood. So then you're getting more of just the natural wood oak flavor, and like vanillin and all these other things that come out in the oak. So I think that plays a big role. Or it could just be where it was in the warehouse.
Yeah.
I almost get like
their warehouse, does it stay pretty hot?
So they have an interesting setup. So where their warehouse was, which I'm assuming these barrels may have came from, was actually an old train station. And so it was where they would hold the train cars. So these things would be just lined up and stacked up, palletized in this old train station. But they were doing that while their warehouse was being built. And so now they have a concrete warehouse. So there's not as much heat variation as some of these old wooden warehouses that they either just have like tin on the side of them and a wooden walls. So I think it's a little more climate controlled, but still during the summer, I'm sure you're getting 130 degrees at least at the top, because they go up nine racks. Jeez, I believe it's 9. I mean,
evaporate. It never ceases to trip me out.
Mm-hmm. It's coming back to this one. I'm getting a little more of the fruit notes now.
I'm gonna add water to this. I'm getting so much of that minerality on the front end, and that look.
And that one, it's decent. It falls a little flat for me on the finish. I think it starts to fall off a little bit short.
That water brought out sweetness.
And that's the interesting part too. And I think why people love barrel proof, and New Riff does all their barrels at barrel proof. And it gives you the ability to add water. While I think there is a lot of art and everything, I don't have to have everything at barrel proof. It does make it fun to add some water, see how it changes. There are some real chemical reactions going on when you add just a splash of water. And actually, I'm going to grab, speaking of water, I'm going to grab my glass of water so I can rinse my palate. I'll be right back.
Sorry, y'all, I'm staying hydrated. Hey, everyone on IG Live. This one is really interesting. It's not my fave. It's not bad, but.
There we go. I would agree. I think it's good. And then, you never want to bash things too much, because I bet if we didn't have them side by side, we'd probably drink that and be like, that's pretty good. I like it. But that, hey, we're picking a private barrel. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad we're in agreement so far, at least. You know, we said with only 2 of us here, there's no swing vote. There's no. All right. Now I'm going to try the last one, which was distilled 6/28/2016. So everything's around that 4-year mark.
A lot sweet on the nose and back to that really heavy orange, but
yeah,
I get more like orange juice as opposed to the orange peel.
Definitely that more citrusy fruit note. It's not like that, you know, it's not cherries, and it's more lighter fruit and the orangey and a lot of that different stuff.
And I get some, I don't know if it's raw, maybe it's raw sugar that I'm getting.
Yeah, almost like a, I don't know if it's the power of suggestion, but yeah, it's more like the, like molassesy, where it's not like a overly sweet, but John Henderson, we're going to have you start working on the heavy orange sticker for this one. Well, hold on. What was the which I thought about this on the first one, but the orange candies, remember they're like orange gummy and they had the crystallized sugar on, or like the.
I don't know the name of those because I was never big on those type of candies, but I know exactly.
Yeah. I was as a kid, those were sometimes my go-to, and for some reason, my parents would let me get those, a Gatorade, and beef jerky at the gas station as a snack. And you know, talk about a terrible mixture, but put all three. Yeah. Maybe the orange and the
savory of the jerky with the sweetness.
Yeah, my young culinary mind was really taking off there.
Then it transitioned into your orange heavy whiskeys with your beef.
That's the real question is, you know, what cut of meat will I be pairing these with once the bottles come in?
Yeah, but I do enjoy your videos on Instagram.
Music and the food. That's the next pairings that I'm trying to work on best.
Well, you mix the food with the good playlist, with the good background.
I told somebody, I was like, is there a real thing as like a culinary DJ? Because I think I miss my calling. As if we could make that happen, like, can I get the YouTube channel Culinary DJ? Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna add a little bit of water to this one as well.
This is 3 that I don't feel the need to add water to. I'm going to because I want to see what else comes out of it. But
yeah, it doesn't feel nearly as high. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's.
Brings out even more of that.
Oh wow! So I'll let you add water to that one, but I just went back to. I went back to the first one, which was 269, and man, I got like a huge whiff of like just butterscotchy, charred sugar, like almost like a brulee on the nose. So the water definitely brought a lot out of that.
Let's go back to this one. Ooh. Oh my God, you're right about the butterscotch.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
A lot in
putting the water and let it sit.
Yeah, let it sit, and that is, man, that's really good. But now I feel like it's more butterscotchy and brulee up front. You get a little bit of the orange, the citrus on the palate and finish, but then there's some good heat. So I think we may have a front runner, at least for now.
For me, it's between the first and the third.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we could go ahead and eliminate sample number 2.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call that a A good effort, definitely good bourbon. I never want to say out the barrel numbers because then if, somebody will end up picking that barrel and they'll love it and they'll enjoy it. And it's like, hey, isn't that the barrel that you bashed on no.
That's good. Okay. That brought out even more butter. It was even more butterscotchy on the palate than before. I tasted much less of the honey. This is interesting. After sitting for a little bit.
And then going back to
deeper into that dark raw sugar for me now, though. The third one, after adding the water, it intensified it.
It does get, but, and I don't know if I'm just comparing it between the two. I get a lot of that up front, but then it kind of starts to, kind of how number 2 did. It falls off for me a little bit after that. I feel like the nose is good.
It's like, it's a very quick kind of spicy bite at the end. And then it just tapers off.
It's a punch. It's a
punch and then it goes away.
Yeah. Doesn't hang around. Just, it's the.
They're both good though. Honestly, number 1 might be it for me.
I kind of agree with you. That is really good.
3, but I like that butterscotch in number 1.
I mean, that's really tasty. I would be good with 1 if that is also your vote.
I'm good with 1. You know what? Okay. The more that it sits, now I smell cinnamon. I want a cinnamon old fashioned with this.
See, that is why you're here, because I'm like, oh, this tastes great. I'll drink it in a glass, and you're like, oh, I can do a cinnamon old fashioned. I can do this. I can do that.
That's I already know. And then number 1, cinnamon old fashioned.
Which that's usually I'm like texting you on the weekends of, hey, so I've got this. How can I make a cocktail? And what would be?
And they usually nice. I need one of your silver Bourboner cups. Those look so.
I know that. So
you sent me.
That was real fancy, but it's not it's basically I got a sticker made with the Bourboner logo on it and just slapped it on in my own Yeti.
I really got it personally made.
I wish I shouldn't have given away the secret, but yeah, because I was searching for another sticker, and I found it, and I'm like, oh, I'll just send her one of these because she'll never know the day. But yeah, that's the trick. All right. Well, cool. Well, I think that's it. So it's going to be barrel number 10269 from distilled 530. And so I know the biggest question we're going to have, and when is it going to be in? So they're pretty quick. So we should probably have it bottled to us within the next, probably in August. And so what we'll do, as always, we'll send out an email, say, hey, tomorrow at noon, this bottle's going live. We'll probably limit it to 1 to 2 people, or 1 to 2 bottles per person, just so we can spread it out as much as possible. Yeah. We want to make sure everybody gets this. We always do have the single barrel, the single barrel rye, the bottled and bond rye, the bottled and bond bourbon on Seelbach. So if you do need your new Riff fix, we have that as well. But yeah, we'll be ready to go. Hopefully in the next 3 weeks or so. We're going with the heavy orange. That's the pick. The heavy orange. Yeah.
Heavy orange and butterscotch though, because it's a lot.
It was like a heavy orange cream to a butterscotch topping. Is the
exactly.
Yeah. It's real fancy tasting notes. That's. But Dee, thanks again for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. We actually have another one. It's coming up next week. So if you're watching, tune in. We have Sean Joseph from Pinhook. We're going to be picking. Dee and I will join Sean as we pick our 5-year bourbon for our next Pinhook barrel. So that'll be a lot of fun as well.
excited.
Yep.
So we're picking a bourbon for Pinhook because we have 2 rye picks from that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So we currently have a rye, and then there's a Breaking Bourbon. They have their rye, and then we'll be picking a bourbon. So how they're doing it, it's their vertical series. So like we picked our 4-year rye, and we'll pick a rye barrel for the next 9 years until all those barrels are 11 years old. And we're going to do the same with the bourbon, except we're starting at 5 years. So the bourbon we're choosing from will be 5 years old. And then, yeah, every year so I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 9 years, but at least I'll be picking a barrel from Pinhook. I'm locked.
Still. So
Hold on, I lost you there for a second. What'd you say?
I said, at the very least, you'll be sipping some good whiskey still.
Exactly. That's the goal, no matter what.
One thing to talk about this particular bottle is that a portion of it will be going to charity. I don't know if we talked about that.
Yeah, so I mentioned that at the beginning. So a portion of this bottle will probably bump the price up a little bit too, nothing crazy, but we'll probably retail this at around maybe $60, $65. So then we can get about $20 per bottle going to Chocolate City's Best, which is, if you missed it on the intro, another organization that D is a part of, as well as Seelbach, as well as Distilled. And so
all the other things.
yeah, exactly. You got to stay busy, but no. So yeah, a portion of this will go to that organization, and they're DC based. They're doing a lot of great things. So it'll be good to make that happen
too. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and D, thank you for joining, and we will probably see you again next week.
Yes, we will. Thanks, guys. Bye.